The silent extinction. Nova Terranum was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement. After centuries of reaching for the stars, we had finally established our most ambitious colony yet, a self-sustaining paradise orbiting a pristine yellow star 30 light-years from Earth. Home to nearly 6 million colonists, Nova Terranum represented the culmination of human ingenuity, determination, and hope. It had taken decades of development, trillions of credits, and the combined efforts of every major nation on Earth. The colony boasted massive agricultural domes, cutting-edge research facilities, and the most advanced defense systems humanity could develop. Ships arrived weekly, bringing new colonists eager to start fresh lives among the stars. Then, on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday, Nova Terranum went silent. The first indication something was wrong came when the weekly supply transports reported no response to standard communication protocols. Automated distress beacons remained inactive. Orbital satellites continued transmitting atmospheric data, but all human communications had ceased. "I don't understand," said Commander Wei of the UES Horizon, the first responder vessel dispatched to investigate. "There's no sign of structural damage, no radiation signatures, nothing that would indicate a catastrophic failure." 3 days later, when the Horizon achieved orbit around Nova Terranum, the crew discovered the unthinkable. The colony was intact, but completely devoid of human life. 6 million souls vanished without a trace. No bodies, no signs of panic or evacuation. Personal belongings remained exactly where they'd been left. Food still sat on dining tables. It was as if every human being had simply evaporated in the same instant. Captain Alina Reyes stood in what had once been Nova Terranum's bustling central plaza, her breath forming clouds in the unnaturally cold air. As head of Earth's Special Investigations Division, she'd seen her share of tragedies, but nothing compared to this. "What do we know?" she asked, turning to Dr. Okafor, the team's xenobiologist. The scientist gestured to the strange, almost imperceptible shimmer that seemed to hang in the air. "Whatever did this wasn't human," Okafor said, his voice tight. "We're detecting quantum distortions throughout the colony. Something, or someone, literally phased every colonist out of our dimension." "Is that even possible?" Reyes asked. "Not with any technology we possess," Okafor replied. "But these readings are conclusive. This was a precision strike, Captain. Whoever did this wanted the infrastructure intact, but the humans removed." Lieutenant Commander Jackson approached, his face grim. "Captain, we found something." In the colony's primary data center, a single message had been left displayed on the main console. It wasn't written in any human language, but a complex series of mathematical formulas and quantum signatures. It took the team's AI 3 days to translate. "We are the Voidwalkers. Your expansion ends here. Your kind is confined to your home system. Any further intrusion into the stars will result in extinction." The message was broadcast to Earth along with all evidence the investigation team had gathered. Humanity's response was immediate and unprecedented. For the first time in history, every nation, every corporation, every independent colony united under a single banner. Ancient enemies set aside centuries of conflict. Resources previously dedicated to internal competition were redirected. Shipyards that had once built luxury liners and cargo vessels were repurposed for war. "They believe they can erase us from existence and will simply retreat," said Admiral Helena Chen, addressing the newly formed United Defense Council. "They fundamentally misunderstood human nature. Earth had always been divided, by borders, by ideology, by religion. But the attack on Nova Terranum changed everything. Humanity looked to the stars not with wonder or curiosity, but with cold determination." Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, the largest warship ever constructed by human hands. Around her stretched the greatest armada in human history, minus 700,000 vessels, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to agile fighters. Every ship was equipped with newly developed quantum stabilizers designed to counter the Voidwalkers' dimensional technology. They took 6 million of our people, Chen said to her executive officer. Now they'll learn what happens when you provoke humanity. The fleet had been assembled in record time, 18 months of round-the-clock production, with every available resource poured into its creation. Scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the quantum signatures left at Nova Terranum, developing both weapons and defenses against the Voidwalkers' technology. Captain Rice, now serving as intelligence officer aboard the Retribution, approached the Admiral with the latest findings. "We've located them," she said. "The quantum trail leads to a system 20 light-years beyond Nova Terranum. Our probes detected massive structures, artificial constructs larger than anything we've ever built." "A homeworld?" Chen asked. "More like an outpost," Rise replied. "But it's definitely their territory." Chen nodded. "Then that's where we begin." The journey would take 3 weeks in hyperspace. 3 weeks for the largest fighting force humanity had ever assembled to prepare for an enemy they barely understood. But one thing was clear: the Voidwalkers had made a catastrophic error in judgment. They had assumed humans would cower, retreat back to Earth, and abandon their cosmic ambitions. Instead, they had awakened something primal in humanity, a collective fury that transcended individual differences. The species that had crawled from the primordial ooze to conquer every environment on Earth, that had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, that had bent the very laws of physics to reach for the stars. That species was now unified in purpose for the first time in its history. As the fleet prepared to enter hyperspace, Admiral Chen addressed every ship. "What we do now, we do not just for vengeance, but for our future. The Voidwalkers sought to confine us, to dictate the limits of human potential. They will learn that humanity recognizes no such limits. They will learn that we do not go quietly. They will learn that when provoked, humans do not retreat, we advance." With that declaration, 700,000 warships disappeared into the shimmering vortex of hyperspace, carrying with them humanity's message to the stars. "We will not be erased." During the journey, Captain Rice spent most of her time in the ship's quantum laboratory, working alongside the science team to better understand their enemy. The quantum signatures left at Nova Terranum revealed a civilization thousands of years more advanced than humanity, a species that had mastered the manipulation of dimensional boundaries. "They didn't kill our people," Dr. Okafor explained to her one evening. "They shifted them. Quantum displacement on a massive scale. Those 6 million colonists exist somewhere, Captain. Just not in our dimensional plane." "Can we bring them back?" Rise asked, hope flaring briefly. Okafor's expression was grim. "Not without the Voidwalkers' technology. The displacement was too precise, too complex for us to reverse engineer quickly." The implication was clear. To save the colonists, they would need to capture Voidwalker technology intact. It added another layer of complexity to an already daunting mission. As the fleet approached the edge of Voidwalker space, forward scouts returned with unsettling news. The enemy had detected their approach and was mobilizing. Massive structures were shifting, transforming from what appeared to be stellar habitats into weapons platforms. "They're surprised," Admiral Chen noted as she reviewed the scout footage. "They didn't expect us to follow them home. Or to come in such force," Rice added. The Admiral smiled, a cold, hard expression that conveyed no joy. "Good. Surprise is the least of what they deserve." Hours before the fleet was scheduled to exit hyperspace, Admiral Chen called her senior officers together. "We have one chance to do this right," she said. "Our primary objectives are clear: locate and recover our people if possible, and ensure the Voidwalkers never threaten human expansion again." "And if recovery isn't possible?" asked Colonel Masterson, commander of the Marine Expeditionary Force. Chen's gaze was steady. "Then we make sure they understand the cost of taking what belongs to humanity." The exit from hyperspace was precisely coordinated, minus 700,000 ships appearing simultaneously in a perfect battle formation that spanned half a solar system. Before them lay the Voidwalker outpost, a massive ring structure orbiting a red dwarf star, with dozens of smaller constructs arranged around it like satellites. For a moment, there was silence. Even across the vast distance, sensors detected a sudden surge of activity from the Voidwalker installation, the alien equivalent of alarm. Admiral Chen opened a channel, broadcasting on all frequencies using the translation matrix developed from the Voidwalker message. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Fleet. You have committed an act of war against humanity by attacking our colony and abducting our citizens. Return our people immediately, or face the consequences of your actions." The response came not as words, but as action. The Voidwalker ring began to shimmer, its surface rippling as if made of liquid rather than solid matter. Energy readings spiked across the spectrum. "They're charging weapons," the tactical officer reported. Chen nodded, unsurprised. "All ships, commence Phase 1. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, splitting into predetermined battle groups. While the main force held position, specialized stealth vessels equipped with the most advanced sensor arrays humanity had ever developed began scanning the Voidwalker installation, searching for any quantum signatures that matched the Nova Terranum colonists. "We need time," Rise told the Admiral. "If our people are there, we need to locate them before the fighting destroys the facility." "Then we'll give you time," Chen replied. "Defensive positions only. Let them make the first move." The Voidwalkers didn't hesitate. From the ring structure emerged what could only be described as tears in reality, spatial rifts that shimmered with otherworldly energy. Through these rifts came their vessels, if they could even be called that. They were unlike any ships humans had ever seen, more like living geometric shapes that phased in and out of normal space as they moved. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered as the first wave of Voidwalker craft approached. "Counterphase shields at maximum." The human fleet scattered in practiced formation, activating the quantum stabilizers that scientists had developed based on the Nova Terranum evidence. As the Voidwalker weapons, beams of energy that seemed to distort reality itself, struck the first line of human ships. The stabilizers flared to life. Some held, others failed. Dozens of human vessels were instantaneously phase-shifted out of existence, their crews joining the Nova Terranum colonists in whatever dimensional prison the Voidwalkers had created. But the majority of the fleet remained intact, and now they had weapons data to analyze. "Return fire," Chen ordered. "Targeted strikes only. I want their propulsion systems disabled where possible." The battle erupted across the void, human railguns and energy weapons flashing against the Voidwalkers' dimensional technology. It was a clash of philosophies as much as forces, human determination and adaptability against alien precision and advanced physics. As the fighting intensified, Reyes and the science team worked frantically to locate any trace of the missing colonists. Their sensors swept the Voidwalker installation, searching for the unique quantum signatures left behind at Nova Terranum. "I got something," Dr. Okuffer suddenly announced. "A matching resonance pattern, coming from the central hub of their installation." Reyes examined the readings, hope rising. "Our people are there. They're being held in some kind of dimensional pocket within the central structure." She transmitted the findings to Admiral Chen immediately. The battle plan would need to change. They couldn't risk destroying the very place where the colonists were being held. On the bridge of the Retribution, Chen assessed the situation. The human fleet had suffered losses, but was holding its own better than expected. The Voidwalkers seemed genuinely shocked by the effectiveness of human countermeasures. "New objective," she announced to the fleet. "The colonists have been located in the central hub. All forces, adjust your targets accordingly. We need to create a corridor for our boarding teams." The human Armada shifted tactics with impressive flexibility, focusing fire on the outer defenses while avoiding damage to the central structure. Marine dropships prepared for deployment, each carrying specialists trained in quantum mechanics and dimensional technology. As the first day of battle drew to a close, humanity had established a foothold at the edge of Voidwalker space. The price had been high. Thousands of ships lost, Tens of thousands of lives either ended or displaced to another dimension. But the Nova Terranum colonists had been located, and for the first time since the tragedy, there was hope of bringing them home. Admiral Chen stood at the viewport, watching as damaged ships limped back to the fleet's mobile repair stations. "They thought we would be easy to intimidate," she said quietly. "They thought we would accept limits placed upon us by others." Captain Rice, having returned to the bridge, stood beside her. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. Chen nodded. "No species that has ever tried to cage humanity has succeeded. The Voidwalkers will learn this lesson like all the others. When you threaten humans, we don't cower. We fight back." The battle for Nova Terranum's colonists had only just begun, but already the Voidwalkers were learning a painful truth. In their attempt to contain humanity, they had instead unleashed its full, terrible potential. Wrath of the Stars. 3 days into the conflict, the patterns of war had been established. The Voidwalkers possessed superior technology. Their dimensional shifting capabilities allowed them to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible angles before retreating beyond conventional space. But humans had something the Voidwalkers clearly lacked: adaptability. "They're predictable," Colonel Masterson observed during a tactical briefing aboard the Retribution. "Advanced, yes, but their attack patterns follow strict mathematical progressions. Once you see it, you can anticipate their movements." Captain Rice nodded. "They're a hive-mind species. Their consciousness exists partially in another dimension, which is how they coordinate so effectively. But it also means they struggle with creative thinking." Admiral Chen studied the battle projections. "Then we use that against them. Unpredictability is humanity's greatest weapon." The human fleet began implementing what they called chaos protocols, battle formations that deliberately broke with logical progression, attack patterns that seemed random but concealed deeper purpose. Ships would retreat when victory seemed assured, or charge forward against overwhelming odds, creating a battlefield environment the Voidwalkers couldn't predict. Meanwhile, the science teams had made a breakthrough regarding the colonists. Dr. Okuffer's analysis confirmed that the 6 million Nova Terranum citizens weren't dead. They existed in a dimensional stasis field within the central hub of the Voidwalker installation. "They're studying them," Okafor explained. "Based on the energy signatures, they've been systematically analyzing human biology, psychology, even our social structures. The colonists are essentially lab specimens." The revelation sent a wave of cold fury through the fleet. What had begun as a mission of retribution now took on the urgency of a rescue operation. Admiral Chen authorized the deployment of special operations teams, highly trained soldiers equipped with experimental phase shift technology that allowed them to partially operate on the same dimensional frequency as the Voidwalkers. "Get our people out," she ordered Colonel Masterson. "Whatever it takes." The infiltration was scheduled to coincide with the largest offensive yet, a massive push by the main fleet designed to draw Voidwalker attention away from the central hub. 300 stealth dropships, their hulls coated with quantum-absorbing materials, slipped through the chaos of battle carrying 5,000 Special Forces operators. Captain Rice, whose expertise in Voidwalker technology had become invaluable, led the science team accompanying the strike force. "We'll have approximately 40 minutes before they detect the dimensional interference patterns from our phase shift equipment," she briefed the operators. "After that, it's a race against time." The insertion went smoother than expected. As the main fleet engaged the Voidwalkers in a spectacular display of firepower, the dropships slipped through gaps in the alien defenses. They landed in what appeared to be maintenance access points along the outer ring of the central hub. "Stay in formation," Colonel Masterson ordered as the teams deployed. "Phase shift units activate on my mark. Now." The soldiers partially shifted into the dimensional frequency used by the Voidwalkers. The world around them took on an otherworldly quality. Solid matter became translucent, energy flows visible as currents of light. More disturbingly, they could now perceive the Voidwalkers themselves. They weren't what anyone had expected. Rather than physical beings, the Voidwalkers existed as complex patterns of energy, mathematical constructs that flowed through both normal space and the dimension beyond. They resembled nothing so much as sentient equations, beautiful, cold, and utterly alien. They can sense us, Rise warned as several energy patterns nearby pulsed with increased intensity. We've got about 30 minutes before they organize a response. The strike teams moved swiftly through the installation, following the quantum signatures that matched the Nova Terranum colonists. The interior of the structure defied conventional physics. Spaces that seemed small from outside expanded impossibly within, corridors that bent back on themselves in non-Euclidean geometry. This is why they couldn't understand us, Rise realized as they progressed deeper. They experience reality as pure mathematics. Emotion, intuition, irrationality. These concepts are literally foreign to their consciousness. 20 minutes in, they reached what appeared to be the central chamber, a vast spherical space where countless energy patterns flowed around a pulsing core. And suspended within that core, visible now through their phase shift technology, were the colonists. 6 million humans, frozen in time, arranged in perfect concentric circles. "Begin the extraction," Masterson ordered. "Science team, you're up." Rice and Dr. Okafor approached the control interface, if it could even be called that. It was more like a nexus of mathematical principles, a place where the Voidwalkers could manipulate the underlying equations of reality. "This is going to be problematic," Okafor said. "Their system doesn't operate on any logic we understand. It's not binary or even quantum computing as we know it." Rice studied the flowing patterns. "It's pure mathematics. They're not using technology as we understand it. They're directly manipulating dimensional constants." Outside, the battle raged. The human fleet had committed fully to the diversion, engaging Voidwalker forces across the entire installation. Ships on both sides were being destroyed at alarming rates, but Admiral Chen held firm to the plan. Every minute bought was another minute for the rescue operation. In the central chamber, Rise had an epiphany. "We don't need to understand their system," she said. "We just need to introduce an irregularity, a mathematical paradox their system can't resolve." Using their own phase shift technology, the science team began introducing deliberate errors into the Voidwalker systems, equations that could not be solved, values that contradicted themselves. The effect was immediate. The energy patterns around them pulsed erratically, the perfect mathematical harmony disrupted. "It's working," Okafor said. "The stasis field is destabilizing." But their actions had consequences. Throughout the installation, alarms that transcended conventional sound began to resonate. The Voidwalkers had detected the intrusion. "We've got company," Masterson warned as energy patterns began converging on their position. "Whatever you're doing, do it faster." The first direct confrontation between humans and Voidwalkers began in that chamber. The aliens manifested as intense concentrations of energy, attempting to rewrite the very physics of the space the humans occupied. Special Forces operators fired phase-matched weapons designed to disrupt the Voidwalkers' energy patterns, while combat engineers deployed quantum anchors to stabilize the space around the team. It was warfare unlike anything in human history, a battle not just of weapons but of mathematical principles and dimensional physics. As the fighting intensified, Rise and her team continued their work. The stasis field holding the colonists began to fluctuate. "Almost there," she called over the chaos. "We need 5 more minutes." "You've got 2, Masterson replied. As another squad of operators fell to Voidwalker attacks, their bodies phase shifting out of normal space. In orbit above, Admiral Chen received the updates with growing concern. The extraction team was in trouble, and the fleet had sustained heavy losses maintaining the diversion. "They need more time," she told her executive officer. "Prepare the retribution for direct engagement. We're going in." The flagship, largest and most powerful vessel in human history, broke formation and dove toward the center of the Voidwalker installation. It was a move of astonishing boldness, placing the command ship and senior leadership directly in the line of fire. All forward batteries, Concentrate fire on these coordinates, Chen ordered. Create a breach large enough for our extraction teams to evacuate through. In the central chamber, the final equation was introduced, a recursive paradox that caused the Voidwalker systems to attempt to solve an unsolvable problem. The stasis field collapsed entirely. 6 million colonists suddenly phased back into normal space, still unconscious but alive. Colonists secured, Rise reported. But we have a new problem. We can't evacuate this many people in dropships. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comms. You won't have to. We're creating an extraction point directly above you. Prepare for mass teleportation. The Retribution had positioned itself directly over the central hub and was deploying its experimental mass teleportation system, technology that had never been tested at this scale before. Everyone activate locator beacons, Masterson ordered. Form a perimeter around the colonists. As the Special Forces teams established defensive positions, the Voidwalkers launched a desperate counterattack. They had realized the humans' intention and were focusing all their efforts on stopping the extraction. Teleportation initiating in 30 seconds, came the announcement from the Retribution. Stand by. Those 30 seconds stretched into an eternity as the strike teams fought with everything they had. Phase shift technology failed under sustained attack, forcing soldiers to fight in normal space against enemies they could barely perceive. 10 seconds. Rise stood beside Okafor, both scientists having taken up weapons to defend the unconscious colonists. They never expected this, she said. They thought we'd retreat after Nova Terranum. Their mistake, Okafor replied. They didn't understand what humans do when cornered. 5 seconds. Colonel Masterson's voice cut through the chaos. For Nova Terranum. The battle cry was echoed by every operator as the teleportation field engulfed them all. In an instant, the central chamber was empty, 6 million colonists, and the entire strike force transported directly into the massive teleportation bays of the Retribution and the support vessels positioned alongside it. Admiral Chen didn't wait to celebrate. All ships, execute withdrawal pattern Omega. Get us out of here. But the Admiral had one final message for the Voidwalkers. As the human fleet began its coordinated retreat, the Retribution's main guns fired one last salvo, not at the installation itself, but at the nearby star. The hypervelocity projectiles struck the red dwarf with precision, triggering a massive solar flare aimed directly at the Voidwalker installation. It wouldn't destroy them, but the message was clear. Humanity could have done worse. As the fleet entered hyperspace, the rescued colonists were being treated in massive medical bays throughout the Armada. Most would recover fully, though they had no memory of their time in dimensional stasis. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Chen watched as the last of her ships escaped the Voidwalker system. The casualties had been severe, nearly 80,000 vessels lost, millions of personnel either killed or phase-shifted beyond recovery. But they had succeeded where the Voidwalkers had thought them incapable. They had fought back, rescued their people, and demonstrated that humanity would not be contained. Send a message to Earth, Chen ordered. Nova Terranum colonists recovered, returning home. Captain Rise joined her at the viewport. They'll come after us, you know. We've shown them we're a genuine threat now. Chen nodded. Let them come. We'll be ready. And next time, we won't be fighting just to rescue our people. We'll be fighting to ensure that no species ever again thinks they can dictate humanity's future among the stars. 2 months later, as the fleet approached Earth, they were met by an astonishing sight. A second Armada, even larger than the first, built during their absence. They expected us to fail, Rice said in wonder. No, Chen corrected her. They hoped we would succeed, but prepared in case we didn't. That's what humans do. We hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and never, ever accept defeat as final. The Voidwalkers had sought to contain humanity, to establish boundaries beyond which they could not expand. In doing so, they had inadvertently achieved the opposite, unifying Earth as never before and awakening a determination that would drive human expansion faster and farther than ever. The stars had witnessed humanity's wrath, and humanity had only just begun to claim its place among them.